Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're now watching and listening to Championship on the Line podcast. If you're new to this video channel, my name is Alex, and today is a very, very special episode. I know I say it all the time, but this one is very, very special because this should have happened a long time ago. It should have happened a long time ago. We're doing this now, and I can't say enough about this guy, this gentleman right here. This guy, when we first started, I'm going to do a little story time real quick. When we first started doing this podcast, the first gentleman that we started talking to, the first podcast that welcomed us into open arms was this man right here, who is the host of the Circuit to Be podcast, the leader of extraordinary podcasts, ladies and gentlemen. He is our brother, Ivan C., the devious one from Circuit to Be podcast. Thank you again for joining with us, man.
Thank you very much for having me, Alex. Appreciate the time, appreciate you having me on. And then, man, I'm honored to be on the show, man. I love it.
Oh no, man, it's a pleasure, man. It's an honor to have you on, and now it's going to be, because you're so used to now doing like interviews and hosting episodes, but now it's flipped. Now it's reversed now. So again, I'm so happy that you're here, and we're gonna start the show off. I know you've seen our show, but we'd like to do our first top 10 questions. So I'm gonna ask you 10 questions. We know that you love wrestling, but now we're gonna see you. We're gonna find out more about you, and we're gonna see what you like, and we're gonna start the 10 questions.
All right, I'm ready.
So, Mr. Devious, first question: what is your favorite movie of all time?
Oh man, favorite movie of all time will be Grandma's Boy. My
Really?
favorite movie of all time. That's
wow.
Like my favorite comedy. We'll talk about comedy. That's my favorite of all time. That one
Martin
I could
Lawrence,
watch.
Right?
Huh?
Martin Lawrence?
No, Grandma's Boy. Grandma's Boy is basically Grandma's Boy is about pretty much these nerds who are video game testers. Don't worry, I'm a nerd too. So, but yeah, it's video game testers, and they should just pretty much explain how the video gamer world is, and it's produced by by Adam Sandler's production company, Madison Productions. I'm trying to remember the name of the actors and who were in that movie, but he's always with Adam Sandler. He's always with he was always on he was on Big Daddy. He was also on which one? Another one? Jesus Christ, I can't believe it. The one where he was rich. What was the name of that movie that Adam Sandler was rich? Mr. Deeds.
Mr. Deeds.
There you go. Yeah. The guy, the main character was the guy who plays the the reporter, the male reporter, the one that has like curly hair. I don't know if you see them like Mr. Deeds. I forgot his name.
He's like on all the Adam Sandler movies, right?
Yeah,
pretty much,
yeah. He's the main character of Grandma's Boy, and I love man. Awesome movie. I love it, man. You haven't checked it out, check it out. It's funny for me. I mean, it's hella funny for me.
Nice. Now I gotta watch it now. That's the first one, so I like it, man. Loving it. Second one, what is your favorite TV show of all time?
Damn. So, favorite TV show that I could literally sit down and watch. Honestly, there's so many. It's tough, but it's just so many. But if I want to go back and rewatch it again, I would actually say Gotham. Gotham was not bad at all. Gotham was not bad. I would say Gotham, but Cobra Kai is another one. And
I love that show.
Oh man, and I can even say Home Improvement. If I go old school, I'll go to Home Improvement. Married with Children.
Tim Allen.
So I could go old school on that for sure. I could sit down and actually watch it. So.
Oh, nice. Love it, man. It's because at the time, even it was like the biggest show at the time.
Oh yeah.
It was like the number one comedy show. It was it lasted a long time too, right? Like a few years, yeah.
Many years it lasted. I don't know how many seasons, but Jesus, I could go back and actually watch it all over again.
Dang, that's cool, man. And then with the third question, what is your favorite band or music artist you like to listen to?
Oh man, my number one will always be Slipknot, because that's how I grew up with the new metal era. So I grew up with listening to Slipknot, Bizkit, Korn. I could go name a lot of Deftones, another one too, one of my favorites. But mainly Slipknot. I grew up with them, so I'm a big fan of Joey Jordison. Rest in peace. he was one of my favorite. You know, when I was a drummer, when I was in a punk band, I
Oh,
idolized him. So you know, I kind of learned, you know, my technique of drumming because watching him performing live, seeing him perform live one time, since like 2001, and from there, like I just been, man, to this day, I will listen. You know, I'll go back and listen to it. You know, because everybody was like, "Oh, have you listened to this new era of metal?" I'm like, I really have not been caught up. I've been stuck like in the 90s and 2000s, like, but I'm trying to, you know, get involved more into the music world. It just, since I stopped performing, I've been away from the music world for so many years. So
yeah.
it's like I haven't really kept up with what's new in this pop culture nowadays. So, but I'm, you know, trying to, you know, get into it more little by little to see what's, you know, what's new out there in the metal scene, especially.
Oh yeah. That's crazy, man. I did not know you're a drummer.
Yeah.
This is see this is what I like. This is why we need to do this, man. I'm getting to know things that I haven't known about you. This is awesome. But how did you get into drumming?
Well, I got into drumming for a long time. I just, you know, I was a really, back in junior high, I was really into the music, into the metal scene. High school as well, when I got into it more and more, get, you know, hang out with your usual squads. Like you have your metal
Yeah.
heads, and then you have, you know, your hip hoppers, you have your reggaetoneros, and you have all the so
Yeah.
your party crew. So I was really more into it. And then I remember I went to my first backyard show, I think when I was in freshman year, and I went to see a punk, you know, I saw punk bands live, you know, playing, performing. I'm like, shit, I want to do the same thing. You know,
Yeah.
I always fell in love with the drums for a long time. So I always wanted to get involved. And so I started you know, practicing with encyclopedia books that I had. And I would just like get some two sticks that I found, whatever, and then just start practicing, and then just start messing around with it. At the time, saved up my money, and then I ended up buying my own drum set, you know, from the pawn store. And it just, and then from there, it just became a fruition. Me learning, I learned by ear. I try to learn you know, reading the music, but it was hard for me to understand the music. I even tried it out for, I think for like a semester, I tried to learning it.
Yeah.
Uh, Bought some DVDs and tried to learn like how to read the music. Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, I just took it by ear. So I just followed by
Yeah.
ear, and then from there, I just got it on, and then from there, just, you know, excel more throughout the years, and then from there, you know, joined with a punk band. They at first they're like, oh yeah, we just need you, you know, to be temporarily. And okay, cool. And I became temporarily for a while, and then they just decided to be like, hey, you know what, we'll make you a permanent member. And like, cool. And I ended up, you know, staying with them for 10 years. And
Yeah.
then from there, obviously, I moved on from music and doing this now, like, you know, way years later.
That's cool, man. Did you guys ever do like you guys had like shows and stuff?
We played the shows. We actually played even a lot in Hollywood. We played at the Key Club,
Oh,
at the
nice.
Whiskey, the House of Blues. We performed pretty much all over the West Coast.
Yeah.
We did Arizona, we did Nevada, we did Oxnard, Ventura County, and we did play in Rancho Cucamonga too. We played out
Oh,
there too.
oh yeah.
Um, Played like 3 different times, but yeah, we pretty much toured around most of the West Coast at the time. But it was awesome,
Cool.
man. It was a good time. You know, the scene was different
Yeah.
what it is now. But yeah, it was really lively between those years, between 2000, I would say, and 5, all the way to like 2000 and I would say 2015 is when I left. And then yeah, so it's been a long time since.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I haven't played drums in 5 years, I would say. Yeah, about 5, 6 years I haven't touched a drum set. You know, but I do miss it, but
Yeah.
it's just now having the time nowadays, it makes it
Yeah.
difficult. So it's just
That's crazy, man. Yeah, because even like Mike too, right? Is a drummer too.
yeah, Mike's a drummer too. Yeah, during the time when I was playing, he was forming his band, and then by the time I was already on the way out, he was already stepping in more into the scene because he was playing more metal. I was playing punk at the time, even though I did enjoy punk music as well. But he was just went. He pretty much formed his band at the time that I was already exiting out of the music scene. And then I saw Mike perform a couple times live, and fantastic. You know, yeah, we have different styles. So his
Yeah.
style is very different, you know, and he we battled it out twice already. So I mean,
oh wow.
So it's a tie. So it's a tie between him and I. There's a tie between him and I, and we're working on probably maybe doing a third one to end the trilogy. You know, like hey.
Yeah.
So he's planning to get back into it, and I think once he gets back to it, then I'm like, all right, I got to step up my game now because he's gonna want to challenge me for the rematch to end the trilogy. And to break break that tiebreaker. So, but we do it for fun, man. Love it.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, coming soon to Circle the Break podcast. We're gonna see this trilogy.
It will. We did mention we're gonna do it for the 100 episode, but not having the time, and then Mike too. It's just we've been out of time, unfortunately. That's why like a lot of our content is so low as of late, just weekly. But we're finding new fresh ideas, and a lot of things are coming that people will be like, oh, all right. Yep. So I'm looking forward.
Nice, man. Same here, man. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, you should subscribe to Circle the Podcast. All right. Then subscribe, find all the great stuff over there. And continuing on this top 10 list with the next question, I'm going to give you a scenario. So here's a situation. You walk in, it could be, let's say, like a 7-Eleven or a convenience store. You only could pick 5 items. What 5 items are you picking?
From the 7-Eleven store?
Yeah.
Oh man. I'll get my flaming hot chips. That I'll get automatically. I will get that automatically. And I'll get my tea. I'll get my iced tea. That's my number 2. And obviously I'll give me a bottle of water. That's 3. 4, I'll give me from 7-Eleven, I'll give me probably a turkey sandwich. Because they normally have like a turkey sandwich. I'll give you that. And then the last but not least, I'll give me a diet Mountain Dew. So nice. that's what I'll get. I mean, because shit, I'm more of a liquid drinker, so it's like fuck. I eat too, obviously, but but still, depending on the Cali weather, you know how Cali weather is.
Yeah. Seem like there's times where like you're not even hungry, you're more thirsty than hungry sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yes.
But yeah, man, I love it, man. I love the list, and it is especially with the next question. What is your favorite meal you like to eat?
Man, if it was up to me, but obviously I cannot, I would eat mariscos. Seafood. If it was up to me, I would eat oysters. I would eat pretty much anything seafood in general. Like besides Latino, Mexican mariscos, sushi. I would eat sushi as well because I'm a big sushi fanatic. And I'm a big also, oyster fanatic and, shrimp fanatic. And fish, obviously. So I could eat, if it was up to me, I would eat every day, but I know it's bad for us because this is, mercury it has. But if I can eat that without not getting sick, I will eat that every day.
I'll eat that. Awesome, man. It's crazy, man. I never had that. I never had seafood. I never had any of that.
So you never ever in your childhood life ever had shrimp? Not even, but you had fried shrimp before. Like battered fried shrimp, but never raw.
Yeah.
But never raw.
Yeah.
Never. You gotta try one time. So you never had sushi. So you only had California roll. Never had California roll.
Never had sushi, never had California roll, never had none
of that. Okay. Gotta try it. See if
it's because I grew up, especially like my parents, they don't like it, so they wouldn't feed us that. So I never had it.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense, but now you have now that you're an adult, you have to go and try things.
It's a little bit too late now. I feel like it's like I'm all right. Yeah, I remember my mid-20s now. Like I'm a little bit too late for that now.
No, it's never too late. It's never too late to try. Nothing's never too late in life. Just give it a shot.
Yeah, that's true. All right, man. With the next question, if you could, outside of podcasting, what do you like to do for fun? Do you have any hobbies you like to do?
For fun, outside of podcasting, of course, I do have a second job. I do work at a karaoke bar. So I enjoyed myself being there, doing a lot, the weekends. Yes, I'm killing myself because everybody tell me, man, you work 6 days a week.
Yeah.
You got to calm down. Even the missus would tell me, hey, you got to relax. I will. Just give me some time. I'm going to enjoy myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like to go do what, go out on an adventure, be adventurous pretty much, and do what you do right behind you. Go buy figures. I'll do that. I'll go buy figures. Take my dog for a walk. And just go out there. Go out, try different restaurants. The basics of any normal days. If I have a chance, I will lay down and just listen to music all day and just relax. Because this is the only time I'm able to have. But most of the time, I still watch wrestling. Obviously, I still watch it. Obviously, watch sports as well. So, but yeah, that's living a normal day life of any other person.
Nothing too, I like it. Especially with California weather. What's your favorite season?
The summer. I love the summer. I can't stand the cold. I mean, yes, I know I've been out to more up north of the west here in Cali, like Seattle, San Francisco. I've been to Oregon, so like I just can't stand the cold weather. But when it comes to the summer, I enjoy it because it's more time to spend time at the beach, spend time more outside, outdoor, activities, grilling, everything else. I enjoy that a lot. And yeah, I mean because I'm obviously because I'm a Cancer, horoscope, I'm a crab, so I enjoy the outdoor sunshine of the summer and the hot weather. So you can say I enjoy it.
Right. Nice, man. Yeah, I agree too. Cannot beat the heat. The next question: what is if you're a gamer? I don't know if you're a gamer now, but what's your favorite video game?
Man, of all time, because I stopped playing after PlayStation 2, or actually I would say 3. I kind of like stopped with video game console because I don't have the time anymore. I was growing up, obviously, and I didn't really have much time. Back in the days, way back in the days, my favorite, there was 2 of them. One, obviously, Nintendo 64, No Mercy, my top games of all time. And then when I used to go to my cousins up in Ventura, we will stay up pretty much most of all-nighter. He'll have 2 PCs and we'll be playing, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. So those were like one of my favorites, and I would stay up with him. Like we will bust the all-nighter. We'll have like at least like 3 cans of sodas, like with the next to each other, chips, and we'll just be playing until sunrise because we're playing online, against all these individuals, and it was fun. I mean, I had a good time with my cousin doing that, and I would only go there when I'm off of school, when I would go over there, and those were my favorite games. Like first shooting games were my favorite, and obviously that and Mario Kart I would say too, and Smash Brothers. Those were probably the only ones that I really enjoyed. The classics, man. I enjoyed the classics. Yes, I'm that old.
But yeah, I love it, man. And with the next question, before an episode or an interview, do you have a ritual you like to do?
My ritual will always be I will have a michelada right next to me. If I have a michelada, that's all I need. It's a little liquid courage. And that's all I need is only one. I don't need no more than one. I could just have, have one, like a nice tall boy I will have with a michelada. And that's pretty much all I need just to get myself going and have a little bit more liquid courage. Gave me that, just before the show starts. That I would say is my kind of my ritual, that I will have that ready and, just write down my notes, make sure, because I'm always old school. I have my notepads and I have everything ready, written down, and just get into it. And I'm always holding my pen. If you notice, I always do that. I always hold my pen. I don't know why I have that tendency. I don't know why. I guess it's not. I guess you could say it's like a ODD type of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just. I guess it's the nature of me when I'm speaking, like especially to like an audience. Yeah, and that's it gives me that little bit motivation, and then okay, so it gives me that little bit more encouraging. So yeah,
nice, yeah, absolutely, man. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen the interviews that Circuit of Eight provides, you can go watch it right now, because IVNC presents the best interviews in the world. I'm saying it, in the world. So go over there when you have a chance. Go over there. And I'll put the links down below and check out Circuit of Eight podcast.
I appreciate you. But no, man, there's other people that's done better. You guys have done a phenomenal job of interviewing everybody, like besides the pro wrestling world, also with MMA and boxing. So, that takes a lot of courage. Not a lot of people could, do that.
Sure.
So it's
Absolutely.
being the first to do that in the community, in the podcast community, is great because you really don't see that much often. You see everybody more focusing on one sport, and that's like wrestling, or they want only MMA. But I never seen boxing, and then that's something that catches everybody's eye. Like, okay, holy shit, okay, this is something intriguing, and that's great because it's something that it's unique and it's different, and it keeps everybody, keeps your audiences more interesting, and especially who are people that are boxing lovers, of the professional sport of boxing, besides MMA and pro wrestling. But that's something is new for everyone, and not only that, you're helping the talent, the boxers themselves, to be exposed to the podcast world. So, which is awesome. You guys are killing it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, man. Thank you, man. We appreciate it, especially with you too. You're such an inspiration to us, and everything you've done with the podcast, everything you've done, but not only just for you, but everything you've done for everyone else. All the other podcasts, especially when you create a Legal Dictionary podcast. Everything you've done for that, man. It's like I said, man. You are the leader. You're the leader of Dictionary podcast, and yeah, man. This is everything you've done. Has just been amazing. But but we still got one more question. Okay. And the last question. This might take a little bit of thinking on this one. If you can interview anyone, it could be anyone dead or alive, anyone. I'm gonna give you two options. One has to be a wrestler, and the next one has to be a non-wrestler. So you give me two people who you would like to interview.
I would interview, obviously the first one by my head, by what comes to my mind, who I'd like to interview would be Eddie Guerrero. I would love to study his mind and, get the psychology and get what he's done, for the Latin community as well, being like one of the pioneers. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's other people before him, but the charisma that he has is something that a lot of people look up to, and they're like, oh, and idolize. And for Eddie Guerrero is one of the pioneers of that charisma for the Latin community. There wouldn't be, I would say like I know they have their own entity, and when they came from other promotions, like, Alberto El Patron, he came from somewhere, he came from, con Lucha Libre AAA, Consejo Mundial. He's done New Japan as well. He went to the World MMA. Andrade, who La Sombra, went from New Japan, Consejo Mundial Lucha Libre. So he's been in that era too. Mysterio, I'm not saying that Eddie Guerrero helped encourage Mysterio, but he goes alongside with him, down the, throughout that journey of Eddie Guerrero's, journey to be at the top. So I mean, he pretty much is a pioneer for the Latin community, and I would love to pick his brain of how did that charisma begin and how it all started. Him taking something that was a pop culture that during that time, because let's face it, I mean, we're labeled as like, because I'm Latino as well, we're labeled as like, oh, okay, he's just, you're a regular Mexican guy, or like Chicano that likes to eat burritos and tacos and all of that. So he took that and created something unique, and people enjoyed it. People cheered for it. People loved it.
And different at the time too, for the time.
Exactly. Very, very different. And people were really behind him, and he inspired a lot of people, not to be ashamed of the color of your skin. And that's what he kind of did for all of us, for the Latin community, and to everyone in itself, who I would say low minorities feel like, oh, but he did a lot. He did a phenomenal job for encouraging and inspiring us not to feel that way, that be who you are. This is what, you grew up with this culture. This is where you got to be for this culture, and don't be ashamed of that. Mm-hmm. And so
even with the family too, the Guerrero family. I mean, especially with in my opinion, one of the best wrestling families, especially even aside from the Hart family, but we went with the Guerrero family. I feel like you had Chavo, you had Hector, you had Mondo, and Eddie. Yeah. So,
And the Guerrero family made history here in LA at the Grand Olympic Auditorium. So they've done, exactly. You're wearing the shirt. And I mentioned that because I saw your post that you were over there, because they were showing, videos of, historic matches that the Guerrilla family had. So they have, they have a dynasty, and man, it is great to see, like, Xiao, even though she's not much involved because personal issues, but she still gets involved somewhat in professional wrestling. Chavo as well. I mean, he's not really much on television, but he's helping, developing stars, or helping with making, like how he helped out with Glow and everything else. So
and Young Rock too, be involved.
Making the Young Rock too, being it, training all the wrestlers. So that's awesome that he's taking something where he learned and passing it on, the knowledge, to another individual. So that's still it's still going through the dynasty to this day, through them, and hopefully their future children and their future continues to go on forward. And hopefully I would say maybe the next Eddie Guerrero, but in their own entity, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
for non-wrestler, who would it be?
Anthony Bourdain.
You know what's funny? I was gonna guess that too. I should have guessed it, but yeah.
I'm a big Anthony Bourdain fan. The fact is, what he's done for us, for all of our cultures around the world, of what he didn't focus on main restaurants like 4 Michelin, 5 Michelin stars, or 3 or 2 or 1. He didn't really give a shit about that. He was just he focused more on the mom and pop shop, understanding the culture of why are you creating this dish? What does this dish defines you, and what it defines your culture? And he picked the brains of every individual differently, from even in politics and everything. He was really hands-on involved, and besides him showing the dish, or like how good it looks or how it tastes good, but explaining what defines that plate from that person. And that's what I admire of what he's done, and what he's shown, that we can't be close-minded of other people's culture and why they do it, and why they eat that food, why they make that food. And getting a better understanding, besides our normal our closed minds society, and understanding more the outer world society that people don't know speak about. And that's why I admire him a lot. I wish that obviously things didn't happen what happened, but he was an idol. He was an idol to me when it comes to that. So I mean, that's another thing I like to do. I like to cook as well. Here and there I'll cook, whatever inspires me. But he was one of my inspirations too when it comes to like food, and then also in interviewing and in conversations. I look at him, and when I look at his interviews and more of his conversations, I would say, it amazes me how he's so mellow, very like, he doesn't stick to one subject. He's like, digs more deep into it, and like, and adds a little here and there towards it. And it's like, that's what I found encouragement when I do interviews with pro wrestlers. It's the encouragement I find from him. He's like one of them that I look up to when it comes to having a conversation with a talent. So I mean, so Bourdain will be my second one that I would interview.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially because I remember watching his, even like the No Reservation show, and the conversations he would have. Like I remember one of my favorite ones too is it was him and I think David Cho, and they did a thing where they were at Sizzler.
Oh yeah, and Koreatown. Yep.
Yeah, and the way they were talking about it too, the way David was saying too, like for us, Mexican American families would go there, and the Asian community too, and going there was like a big deal. Especially Sizzler was a big deal, especially with, and the fact that Anthony was like interested in knowing that it's a special place, and him talking about it, because like you said, I think when people talk about Anthony Bourdain, people talk about like, oh, he's really into the fancy restaurants and the Michelin restaurants, but he's not.
No.
Like he'll go to that place, he'll go to Sizzler or get Doughboy or any fast food place or whatever, and I think that's what made him special. Talking about things that I think people didn't really talk about, but this is the conversations too, and also too, like with him, like a lot of people don't even know, but like he did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu,
Yeah.
You know, and competed, and he was really, really good. Because a lot of people like did not know that. And the fact that he put jiu-jitsu like in his TV show too, kind of like showcasing that, you know, which was, you know, awesome. You know,
Oh
no one
yeah,
was doing it at the time.
definitely. Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much again for being on. I'm really excited to have you on, and you know, especially what you've done with social circle debate with wrestling. I want to know the beginning side of it. Like, how did you first get introduced into professional wrestling? Like, was it a family member, or did you find out on your own? Like, how did that start for you?
I mean, when I was a child, 4 years old, I would watch with my dad. We would watch, you know, Lucha Libre Triple A on television. We'll be on either channel 22. We'll be
Mm-hmm.
watching it there. We'll be watching Consejo Mundial when it'll be on as well, CMML. And I would, you know, I grew up watching that. And then later on, my dad would, you know, my dad was a wrestling fan as well. Because he liked, you know, he liked El Hijo del Santo, Octagon, and he enjoyed Perios, Mil Máscaras, I can name them all. And after that, we watched WWF, the Golden Era. We'll watch the Golden Era. We'll go back, and you know, he really enjoyed like Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Jake the Snake. He liked Jake the Snake the most because I was like, oh, he liked the Snake. And I was introduced to that. I'm okay. This is something fascinating, interesting. And we would sit down and watch it, and then I got really involved, and I started liking it. And every Saturday morning, I'll wake up. I'll watch my cartoons throughout the mornings, like at 7 in the morning, all the way to like 10 or 11. And then after that, wrestling will be on you know, 22 or 34 or 52. And then from there, later on, it will be Superstars. It'll be on, and I'll be watching that. And then got more deeply involved, and you know, and then throughout the years, I learned that I had an uncle. Well, he's no longer kind of related to me, but he was related to the family. Fuerza Guerrera was, you know, married to my mom's sister. And so when he came to town to visit, that's when my dad, oh, yeah, he's un luchador también. And I, okay. And then I seen him on TV, and I was like, oh, I didn't recognize without the mask, you know, obviously. And so, you know, he kind of taught me a little bit too, like, here, I'll teach you a hold or two, or
That's
you
so
know,
cool.
and it was cool. Like, I enjoyed it, and I got more deeply involved. And from there, my dad would take me to the video store back in the days, your mom and pop video store, because I wanted to, you know, rent all those Coliseum videos, whatever was there, just to, you know, just to watch wrestling. And I got into it. I just really deep into it, and never stopped loving, you know, loving it. I mean, I just enjoy the craft. I enjoyed the psychology, everything that it brings to the table. So I still watch it to this day, obviously. But it just, and that's how I fell in love with it. I just, since I was 4 years old, I fell in love and started watching, you know, all these wrestlers.
Yeah, man, I can relate too. Same thing when my dad got Rich and I into it, you know, to put it on TV and, you know, start watching from there, and hasn't stopped. But, you know, growing up, who was your favorite wrestler?
I grew up loving, at the time, I was growing more with Hijo del Santo, more Octagon. And then I grew up more like my uncle, you know, Fuerza Guerrera. I liked him. He was great. Mascarita Sagrada. So I started with the luchadors. Then obviously throughout, I Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Jake the Snake, Macho Man. I enjoyed him. And from there, I liked the Hart Foundation. I was falling in love with them more and more. And then from there, throughout the Golden Era, Bret Hart was my favorite of all time. And, you know, he's still like one of my top ones of all time. So, I mean, yeah, I grew up more watching Bret. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Taker, but more Bret because he was more of a technician. And I enjoyed his matches, man. He had incredible matches. So I fell in love with him.
Especially Hart versus Michaels, too.
Oh, man.
The matches they would put.
The matches that would put. Hart and Mr. Perfect, man, they did incredible. Like, it was just, even Bret Hart versus Jerry Lawler, like, where the storyline itself was funny, but I mean, it was just, you know, it was interesting. And then, like, just seeing Bret fighting all those obstacles, yeah, I was a really big fan. I mean, still to this day, I'm big of Bret Hart. So,
and growing up as a fan, what was like your favorite moment watching wrestling?
I guess if my favorite moment will be for the first time when I went to an event. I went to my first WWF event. I've gone to my lucha libre. The first time I think I went when I was 9 years old. I went to the Grand Olympic Auditorium with my dad. My dad took me there to go watch. I forgot who wrestled it. I think it was all the luchadors that came from AAA. And I think it was in the Máscara Sagrada and Mascarita Sagrada. They teamed up. I forgot against. I think it was shit. I can't believe I forgot the name of him. I know it's like the Blanca wannabe. But you know what I'm talking about. They look like blood with the mask, the mini one and the regular one. So I remember seeing that, and I still have the mask that my dad bought me to this day. I still have it. So that was my first ever like wrestling event that I ever went to. My second one will be when it was at the Arrowhead Pond of Anaheim in '96, when I went to go see when it was Austin, when he was barely becoming Stone Cold, barely, not before, he was still Steve Austin, but transitioning at that time. It was here. I saw Austin, saw Bret Hart, Vader, Taker, Mankind. So my dad took me to that show at the Arrowhead Pond of Anaheim. Oh man, it was so amazing. That was just those were my favorite moments because, you know, before my dad passed away. So I mean, that was like one of the ones that I can enjoy, that I could say that I had with my father. So I was like, because I'd never gone, you know, and that was just the point. That was just pretty much breaking the ice for me to get more deeply involved. And yeah, that was fantastic, man. Those were my favorite moments of going to my first two events. So I cherish those moments.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, especially too, because like you watch it on TV, you know, it's great, but like it doesn't beat going to like a live show, and you go into the arena and you go like you try to run to your seat, and you go to your seat, and then you just see the ring, and you just anticipation, you're just waiting for it, like, oh dude, like what time does the show start? Like, is it ready? And then you're just there just waiting. And I think it's nothing beats but going to like a live show. And especially for you too, like you went to like, you know, like I said, like I've had the honor to go to the Olympic, but I went for the boxing match, and this is right before they like changed it. But for you to go to a wrestling show, like that must have been like really like amazing, because especially all the things that happened in that building. And for you to go to a wrestling show, like that must have been like really awesome too.
Oh man, definitely. Like it was just, the experience was like no other. It was just like, what am I doing here? And I'm just like seeing everybody. I'm like, I just see everybody here in Spanish, and like I speak Spanish. Obviously, my first language was Spanish, second is English. So I'm just like, I'll tell my dad, so what are they talking about? You know, I'm just getting more involved. My dad, like I said, he was really heavy on it, and I was surprised that he was. So it's funny because I have a lot of his characters, you know, growing up and being where I'm at now. Like he was a metalhead, I was a metalhead.
Yeah.
He like, you know, he was a big, you know, music guy. So was I, wrestler. So, you know, so am I now currently, you know. So it's crazy how he really pretty much, I could say he pretty much was really highly involved in my childhood of what made me, you know, pretty much what brought me to what to love. And so I got to give it to him, mainly.
And just curious, like, who did he like? Like, who was his favorite wrestlers?
His was Lijo del Santo. That was like one of his favorites. Him and Periodos and Mil Máscaras. He loved Mil Máscaras because he was from Jalisco. So my dad's from Jalisco, so he loved Mil Máscaras and Rayo de Jalisco. He enjoyed those two for sure. So that was just like favorites of like, hell yeah, I love these guys. So yeah, he was really, really big, really big into them. So
yeah, same here. Like my dad's a huge Mil Máscaras fan. I feel like everyone at that time too was such a big fan of his, because especially the things he was doing too was like very, like at that time was very new. Yeah. You know, a lot of people weren't seeing that, you know, and very creative too, especially with the masks. Because I feel like a lot of people bring him up a lot, you know, but a lot of things he was doing, you know, was very new, you know, at the time, especially with the mask and how you pull out one out and you would have a different one. You know, especially at the time, it was very creative and unique.
Yes,
you know, at the time.
It was definitely. I agree.
But you know, at the time too, like obviously, you know, we both collect figures. But at the time, were you playing the video games and collecting the wrestling figures at the time?
At the time, I was playing more video games. The figures, my dad will buy them. He'll bring me the luchador ones.
Yeah.
Or especially if we go to the Swami ones, you'll buy me the ones from the
Oh,
Swami.
those are the best too, though.
Those are the best ones, man. People don't understand that those are
Like the
actually
customs. The
yeah,
Mexico. Yeah.
from Mexico, the customs. Like, I wish I could have just hold on to them, but when you grow up, things get lost. Things are like, oh shit,
Yeah.
they're all gone. Uh, I had Hasbro's before. I even had the second series edition of the WWF one. I even had the mini one, the mini ring with the mini Vader, mini Owen, Brett, I think Bulldog and Shawn Michaels. There was 4 figures that they had in them at the time. I had that, and I'm like, oh man, if only I could go back and like, please don't make me throw this away. But shit happens. But I can still buy it though if I want to. But I
Yeah,
know
that's what I'm saying.
it's just too much. It's just too much.
But especially like at the time too, wrestling, at the time it was really, really, it was big, especially like in the 80s, and it was big. What do you think, especially at the time, what do you think with now, what can they take from that at the time? Especially with everything, it was such a different time. What do you think it could be different? Especially
Like,
now. Like, what do you think it could take from them?
From you talking about from back then to take away from now, or from now to take away from back then?
Yeah, from now to take away from back then.
I mean, they take it away a lot, which is charisma.
Yeah.
And the one thing I wish they never did is break the kayfabe. Expose the kayfabe of the business.
Yeah.
If they would have left it how it was, because a lot of the promotions certain promotions still follow the rule.
Yeah.
Like New Japan mainly, they really once you break up a faction, you're no longer can affiliate with them. You can hang out with them outside of the ring.
Yeah.
None of that. You're with this person and that's it. So you can't even talk to them. So like they still do that.
Yeah.
And I think All Japan still does it too, and Pro Wrestling Noah. So
Yeah.
more that side of the territory continues with the kayfabe. Like they don't expose it. They continue that tradition. But nowadays over here, like here in the States, they don't really do that. I mean, obviously, you see it all over social media platforms. Oh, hey, I kicked your ass last week, but we're hanging out having a cup of beer. So yeah, so like you see that on social media. So just if that was really, as much as people don't agree with Jim Cornette, but I would agree with him on that. If the kayfabe was not exposed, then everything would have been perfect. What it is for now, it would have been more dramatic than what it is already. But I think it'll be way more, because then none of us will this time we will want to tune in. Like, like a regular soap opera television show, you want to tune in. Oh, what's going to happen next? Like, for example, you want to see what's in the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. Oh, shit, what's going to happen? And you get excited, you're pumped. You want to see what's going to happen, next week. Yeah, so, shit like that, I wish it still exists, but obviously it's obsolete. I wish they could take that and learn, continue with that, but they didn't, unfortunately. So
yeah. And especially now with everything going on with wrestling, with AEW, WWE, and especially New Japan Impact, what do you think is something that you think they could improve on with all those promotions? What do you think is something that they can make things a little bit better, in your opinion?
Right now, like what they could do, like what could improve better? I mean, better storytelling, and kind of balance out the ring action. It doesn't have to be all the time.
High spot.
High spots every time. You gotta tell the story in the ring, because that's no matter what. As much as people could say, "Oh, I enjoy a high spot," well, of course, there's nothing wrong with it.
No,
but you're not gonna be very entertained. You're not gonna be really intrigued, because you're like, "Oh, all they're doing is high spots and that's it." So you feel the match is boring.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want a storytelling match, like a simple basic move, and let that heel look at you like, yeah, look at your hero now.
Yeah.
Like, go back to the old school feel that way, like how MJF and CM Punk, when they told that story, the dog collar match was epic. That is storytelling. Like the way how they put it down. They didn't do high spots. All they
No.
did was just beat the shit out of each other, but dramatically and storytelling wise, and the way
Yeah.
how they both did it, it's that a lot of people should look into that. Um, I can even go back and say, even with what other match I could say that is more like, jeez, I'm trying to think what other match could actually be more storytelling. Even a Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, their rivalry, there was storytelling.
Yeah.
I would even say, even with Bryan Danielson at the time when he was WWE, I like how he told the story of him and Cena when I was there
Yeah.
when he won a title at SummerSlam.
Mm.
That was storytelling because it's
Yeah.
like you have an upcoming star versus a high quality star, but he's pretty much saying you can't do this, you can't have this, and he pushes him to the limit. That's storytelling, and that match was not a lot of high spots.
No.
So that's how you could, which I wish nowadays, like certain promotions could learn from that and not do it every week, because then guess what, it's going to be relevant every week and people are not really going to tune in. Always going to do the same thing over and over. That's it. No, just give me something. You gotta tell it in the ring,
Mhm.
and you gotta sell it.
Yeah.
That's the only way, is to piss the people off or get them, either piss them off or have them get to cheer you, boo you, or cry. So I think that's what's missing, to this day, is just that storytelling.
Oh yeah, and it's true because I saw that interview with Billy Gunn that did, and with Lee, and even he even said too, like, not everything has to be always a flip or a spot and everything. You could slow it down and make a story out of it, you know. And I think it's really true. Just like I said, every match you put on, and this is always the same thing,
Yeah.
and it has to, things have to be a little bit different. Every match has to be different.
Yeah.
There is, like I said, there's going to be matches where there's high spots, and then there's matches going to be a little bit different, very technical, or one's going to be like a fight, just like Punk and MJF. That was like a fight that you saw, and they just beat the crap out of each other, which was great.
Yes, it was.
But especially with talking about how you got started, but like, how did you start with Circle Debate? Like, how did that start for you? What made you decide to be a podcaster and make your own podcast? Like, how did that start?
Well, prior to that, I was in another podcast, but it wasn't no wrestling. It was more about the community, more about current events,
Mm,
more of what's going on that people doesn't really talk about, like not like like the regular news. So I was more involved with that. More audio, never video. We did video
okay.
probably like a couple of times, which is called the Black and Brown Movement radio podcast. So they still exist. I mean, they're still doing their thing, and I'm congrats to them. And but I started with them as a moderator and a host, and then we added sports here and there, like basketball or football. We added it as well towards it. It was great. It was a great success. But I wanted to do pro wrestling, and obviously they didn't give me the time for it.
Mm,
So I decided, okay, you know what? We decided to part ways. I decided just to
mhm.
and it was nothing personal. Obviously, it was a business decision.
Was it
From
difficult for you to make that move, to make that decision?
in the beginning, it was because I enjoyed doing moderating, because there were more of the main hosts and I was just more the moderator, because they will answer the questions that I would ask them. And so it wasn't really, it was difficult because I enjoyed doing it with working with them. And they, I remember our first episode we did at a studio, at a rural
Mhm.
production studio. And we were sitting from different booths across from each other. And and I had, of course, my index cards, and I was reading whatever they told me to read them out to them. So it was cool. And we did that, and we even did live interviews with with hip hop artists, or with artists
Mm,
like clothing designers, just outside of the box, and just pretty much helping out the artists that is in the community people don't know about. And that's
mhm.
what we kind of did a lot. And they're doing it to this day, and I'm happy for them, and they're doing a fantastic job with it. But it was something that in my heart, I'm like, I love it, but I enjoy it? It's like I want to talk about pro wrestling. I want to do this. I've been what got me more influence was hearing Jericho's podcast. His obviously the first ones, like his and the Good Brothers. I would hear them, their podcast, and then Steve Austin's show. So I got more deeply, and I would listen to them, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. I want to do something. I've been wanting to talk about pro wrestling this forever, and so once I separated myself from them, because I was with them for about 2.5 years, and then once I separated from them, then I wanted to do my own, and I couldn't figure out the name. The name was the one that really, because I was researching, and I'm like, man, I see everybody, they call it pro wrestling podcast, or they call themselves wrestling podcast. So I didn't really want it. I wanted to be different. I didn't want it to be like that relates to wrestling podcast. So it came to a time when I was sitting down, my buddies were watching a pay-per-view. And then, we were debating about obviously what's going on it was a WWE pay-per-view. I don't remember which one. And then we were just debating about it. And then I'm like, man, seriously, man, we're right here, like just us here as a circle, just debating. I'm like, oh shit, circle debate. Okay. And then from there, I'm like, okay, I wrote it down, like, okay, we're circle of debate. Like, and it's funny because that was brought up again, because when I was with the other podcast, that term was brought up again, because I went to go see them, how they're doing, and we're discussing about life and the same thing. And I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna take this. I have to keep this. And then I waited because I wanted to trademark the name and make sure, and which I did. I'm glad it was. So before I even got into who am I going to do it with, and I remember I posted on Facebook a lot about wrestling, and then Mike responded. And Mike, we kept in touch, but here and there on Facebook, but not as much as now. And then I asked him, hey, I want to do this pro wrestling podcast. What do you think about joining in and like co-hosting with me, like like at least give it a try, see if you like it. He's like, yeah, sure, yeah, why not? Been dying to talk about something about this. And like, all right, cool. And I know Mike already had his. He had his. His was more like adventurous out there, like psychology, but more like a vlog what he was doing. And then during the time I got involved in Twitter, so I'm still, you could say I'm like 3 years into Twitter. And I was see the community of pro wrestling, and I started posting stuff too. And then I met this guy named Josh, and then I met him through Twitter, and then we were talking about it too. And then I just decided, hey, come on along, come along. I have my buddy here that wants to do. Well, I want to do a podcast. I've been dying to do a podcast. Like, yeah, all right, let's do it, man. And we finally we all met. I think it was May 21st, I think it was. And then we first recorded our first episode, and Josh lives in North Carolina, so that so it was different time zones, but we made it work. And from there we hit it off, and then they're like, okay, they asked me what's the name of the show. I was Circle Debate. Oh, I like that. That's catchy. Yeah. And then that's how it started, and then from there it continued to grow.
And then from that start was just the three of you, right? It was
it was only
like
three
Chris
of us.
And Matt was in it. Yeah.
Not yet. Yeah, they were not in it yet. Yeah. So Chris. The first one that got involved was Matt. Matt got later involved because Mike introduced him to us and to myself and Josh, and then Matt came as a guest one time. Okay, we got a little guest host. We come in, and then he started spitting some knowledge, and I'm just like, oh shit, like, wow, this guy, he knows what he's talking about. And then from there, we started getting him on every other week, and then here and there he'll come on aboard. And then we decided to, tell Matt, hey, you want to be a part of this? He's like, yeah, I want to be a part of it. Sure, why not? And Matt was already doing a podcast like that with someone else, but he got tired of that podcast because all they were doing was getting drunk and talking belligerent, stupidity. And he wasn't liking that. And then he come and joined, and Mike and I and Josh offered him a spot, and he said, yeah. Then Matt became our fourth member.
And then because Chris was a guest at first, right? You guys interviewed him.
Yeah.
He was a guest.
Throughout later on, then Matt introduces to Chris because he's like, hey, Chris used to wrestle. He used to wrestle for Rev Pro. I'm like, oh shit, really? And then I I'm familiar with Rev Pro. I think we all are. I mean, because that's where Excalibur and what you would call it, Super Dragon. They're like kind of that's where they came from where American Wild Child. He was like the head trainee there, and so Chris was performed there for, I think he said, a year and a half, almost 2 years, and he did XPW as well. So we like, let's have him on the show, let's interview, and the interview was great, and we got a lot. The chemistry was there with Chris. At the time, Josh was not really getting much involved anymore because he had personal issues he had to take care of, with family. So throughout the time, it was 3 of us now. At the time before we got Chris, it was 3. Then Josh permanently stepped out of the picture because he had to take care of what he had to do with personal issues, family issues. So he stepped down, and so then we told Chris, hey, after the interview, we invited him a couple more times to do a top 5 and to do a show. And then that's when we asked him, hey man, I would love for you to be part of this family. Would you like to be a part of it? And Chris said immediately, he's like, hell yeah, dude, I'm fucking stoked. I've been wanting to be in the podcast. And he got in, and it was awesome. And then from there, we were gelling, it was us 4, and then obviously, Josh later on just never came back. And, we left the doors open for him, if he ever wanted to come back, because, I know he had this dilemma, and, we respect that. And of course, we're not going to be, hey, you come over here, like, or you're out, you're not, like, kind of like, oh, you're out of the band. Like, no, none of that. It's like, doors are wide open. It's there. So if understanding, if you can, if your family's priority, obviously family's first. So completely understand. So, I mean, but we keep in touch as much as we can with him here and there. He's doing fine. So then it just became 4 of us. It's just 4 of us, Chris, Matt, Mike, and myself. And that's how pretty much it began from there and grew.
Nice. And especially too, because the 4 of you guys have such like good chemistry together, and it just clicks, and especially with doing the other podcasts, like how much did you learn from that experience, from that podcast, and how much did it help you in doing Sort of Debate?
It helped me to not be stage fright in front of a camera, and more like, hey, because I had the experience to interview people in person. But it's funny because even though we did audio, but then when we did interviewing people in person live, it was a whole different ballgame. And and from there, I took that, and not to be stage fright about it, and just like, okay, here, I have a camera right in front of me. You got to talk to it like if it's like to the world. And then I learned, and also learning by watching like other moderators and other like co-hosts I would watch. Like I watch, I'm a sports guy, so I do watch like I watch Undisputed a lot. I listen, and I watch or listen to The Herd. So watching them, and it's like it gives me that little bit more motivation, and okay, I could do something like that for sure. Joy Taylor is like one of my favorites moderators and great host as well. She could be. She doesn't give what credit was due because she's a female, but she's very knowledgeable in her sports, and especially in football and in basketball. But she knocks it off the park, and I'm glad where she's at The Herd, speaking her mind about sports and giving her the platform. And she has other shows too. So she's like one of my inspirations as well, of how to control conversation when you're having 3 other people, because they can be like, hey, okay, all right, hold on guys, we'll switch it off. So it's difficult. And the idea that I wanted to do was not make it, I wanted to make it like Undisputed, like a debate show. That's why I wanted to have these guys debating with each other. Yeah, of course, the majority, they agree on a lot of certain topics that we discuss about, but there's certain things they're going to be like, I disagree. You know, stuff like that I like because, and then with the influence of Undisputed, that's how I kind of wanted to make it like a pro wrestling Undisputed podcast, like in a way like that. Like, hey, we're sitting down, we're debating about pro wrestling. Like how you see Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp debating about football, basketball, it just, general sports. I wanted to do the same thing, So that's why, like, the unique idea of calling it Circle Debate, because I wanted to be related, not just about pro wrestling, but also kind of throughout the time wanted to expose other ventures besides just one topic. So, I mean, but obviously the main is pro wrestling.
Yeah.
So, and then later on, that's when Chris wanted to do MMA, because I asked Chris, do you have any ventures that you like to do? And, Chris wanted, musician and MMA, analyst. Of course, Matt wanted to do food, which we're still waiting for Matt to do food. And Mike, he brought up, doing ideas with David for Wrestling Guy Store, do like, hey, him debating versus David, because it's AEW versus WWE type of thing. So, so we tested all those waters and ventures. I mean, and we have still the platform we have to do that. We could do it whenever we can.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't hurt to try any ideas. And that's the beauty about not just one individual that has it. It's everybody else that gets involved, because it's like, okay, you want to do it? Let's try it. You're better of failing by not trying and learn from your failures. And then, because what about if we never do it? And how about it doesn't work out? So, that's always, never fear of trying something, because you'll learn from experience that, hey, you'll know if it was a success or if it wasn't, unless you know that mistake and not do it again and try something different. So that's the beauty about the podcasting world, especially in the community of podcasts. So.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. And especially too, because like with your channel, you guys have done, especially with interviews, you've done interviews with wrestlers from Championship from Hollywood, from Memphis, from GSW, from Global Syndicate. And you guys even had guys like Just Incredible and CW Anderson. What is it like been like, also like you said, doing other podcasts, but also doing interviews, like especially for the first time? Like, what was it like for you to do interviews for the first time? Was it like difficult at first, or was it easy, or like what was the whole experience like for you?
Yeah, but the first time, it was hard for me. It was more like, what am I gonna ask them? I have to go and do my research, and ask, when I was doing the other podcast before Circle Debate, like, I didn't know much about this musician or this artist, so I had to do my research about that individual or the group. And so, I'll do my little research, whatever I could find on the internet, or whatever, it's affiliated towards them, read about it or see about it or listen to it, and then I'll ask them similar questions to it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning it was really difficult for me to, interview people. I was just like, so what are your hobbies? What do you like? How did it all start? So in the beginning, it was more of your basic interviewer, like, oh, how does this all start? How did it all begin? Like, not making the conversation intriguing or get the other person interested, because they're gonna be there like, yeah, I got into this. This, blah, 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 to make it short and bitter. And, I was learning, I'm like, okay, cool. And then, I'm watching other interviews that I've seen, like, listening and watching the Jericho one and Austin kind of helped me develop, okay, oh, all right, for sure, I got to figure out how to get this guy to get him, or a girl to get more involved with. So it took a progress to learn, learning in progress. And even to this day, I mean, I could say if I do interviews, I'm still, learning more and more.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to make that individual comfortable and not feel like it's an actual interview. It's more like a conversation about, yourself, but give it to the world how in your words, and that's how I put that platform for them. Like, hey, here's your plateau. Talk about what you need to talk about. So, I mean, it's a learning progress. I mean, even for me, it's still learning, but I enjoy it. I have really enjoyed interviews.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially it's a thing that you kind of never stop learning. It's something that you're always gonna learn. Everything. Every interview is different, you know? And especially with interviews, is there an interview that like, you know, that's special to you? That kind of, was there like an interview that you liked and it kind of something you kind of had, something in common with, or something just hit you? Like, was there like a special moment or a special guest that you liked from those interviews?
I mean, I liked all of them. All of them were
Mhm.
really fantastic. I had no issue with none of them. The beauty that is getting to know them, and
Yeah, yeah,
that's what I love about it, because they're saying stuff that we don't even know about, and it's like,
yeah,
really, okay. And I can't pick one because I like all of them. All of them were great. All of them, I never had an issue. All of them were fantastic. Getting to know them is the beauty of having a conversation with an individual.
mhm,
Um, because of course, you're there as a fan, and of course, in person, you're like, hey, how's it going? You kind of, a little bit shy, but you don't know what to say
yeah,
to them. Um, you want to have a conversation, but sometimes they're too busy. They don't have the time because they're everywhere. They're so overwhelmed with other people around them, surrounding them, so they got to do their thing. To have them on this Zoom, on a video platform like this, kind of helps them more, because it's like, hey, you know what? I'm conversating with you. I'm trying to get to know who you are, and I want the world to know who you are,
yeah,
and not just as a pro wrestler, but as a human being. And so, and I love that, like how everybody in the league does their conversations. Shout out to all of them. They
yeah,
do all fantastic job of how they do it. Uh, I could say that all of them are like, I cherish all of them. I cherish
yeah.
every one of them, from the first one uh, to even the last one I had, which was the last one I only had was Diva Van, and I enjoyed that one really a lot. A lot of
Mhm.
things in common, a lot of things that I didn't know that she didn't know about me
Yeah,
too. So it's like, I enjoyed that. So it's awesome to have everybody there, who took the opportunity of their time to give us their time to to have a conversation with them and talk about the business and talk about their lives. So it's incredible that um, they give us that time for it, and I'm happy that they see it, that we're not trying to get one over or stepping over their toes. It's like, we want to help you
yeah, absolutely.
more than you want to help us. Like,
Mhm.
okay, we're distributing it, but you're putting your message out to the world,
Yeah,
who's watching it under our platform. So that's the key, is exposing you, and
yeah.
that's the beauty of it. So
Mhm.
I, yeah, that's how I enjoy. I love every one of them.
Yeah. And what about like, even if it doesn't have to be interviews, it could be even just episodes you've done. Has there been like a favorite moment that you've done so far with the Sucker Debate?
Man, I think almost every episode is different. I mean, you have three different characters.
Yeah.
And it's funny how within the 2 years that I know, going on 2 years, how we've grown and how we've been so different. Like, we were really serious in the beginning, Then later we started adding more sense of humor to it. And then, how you mentioned that adding, how the chemistry of us four, how we have it matches and mesh together. It's amazing that you have, you know, an energetic person like Chris, a very knowledgeable like Matt, and a very egotistic like Mike.
Yeah.
Because I love how he gives that ego, and it never bothers me. I love him. I love him dearly, because he speaks his mind. He speaks it how he wants to, speak about it, his opinion about it too. And having those three, it's man, it's new every week, and I enjoyed every one of them. Yeah, we had our bad moments. Yeah, that everybody's tired. We're like, hey, let's just we got to stay consistent. Let's stay our weekly consistent episodes. Let's put it out there. Everybody's tired. And the beauty of it, if one person can't make it, then we have another person that can make it. So,
Mhm.
and I know everybody's waiting for the day, when is Ivan not gonna make it? I'm like, we'll see. I mean, the question is, who's going to take over my duties that day? Who would it be?
Yeah.
Would it be Chris, Mike, or Matt? I don't know who's going to take over that day. So I mean, it's going to come down one day. I might have to miss, but I enjoy it. When I have the time, I'll make it. Obviously, the time is there for it. But if there's something that I cannot make it, then that'll be the day that I'll shock the whole world. They're like, oh my god, I was not on the show.
And especially too with your podcast, you've worked with different podcasts, but then also worked with wrestling promotions. Like you've worked with with Old Fashioned Wrestling. What was that kind of like the partnership been relationship been with Old Fashioned Wrestling, and also getting to do interviews for the event and interviewing wrestlers. Like what was that whole experience like? Working with them and also going to their first event, which I believe was the primetime anniversary, right?
Yes, primetime anniversary. It was, oh man, I enjoyed it. It was awesome to be with, Ray. I'm familiar with Ray. I know Ray on a personal level, but not like too deep. Like, oh, he's my buddies. I mean, like buddy, but we're buddies. But Peter Avalon, I know, seeing him, I've seen both of them for quite some time, bar wrestling days. Ray, so being with them, it was great. Funny because when I walked in and everybody was like, oh, hey, it's that guy from Circle of Debate. And I'm the only one, everybody's wearing the logo t-shirt. I'm the only one that's wearing the flannel. Like I'm always wearing like different color shirts. So, and yes, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to think that I stole it from Craig Sigurd. No, it's just that I've worn different color shirts. But now that I thought about it, like, hey, he's another great interviewer as well. Rest in peace, Craig Sigurd. But when I went in there, everybody was like, hey, what's up, buddy? What's up, man? Like, everybody knows who, like, I'm one of the boys. Like, and I wasn't really like stage fright or anything. I was just like, I had to go in there with confidence. Like, hey, how's it going, guys? Like a businessman, and I went in there and, talked to everybody normal. Like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this interview right quick. If you don't mind. Cool. Boom. With Midnight Heat too. With Danny Limelight, got to talk to Papa a lot. So, man, it was amazing to sit down with all of them and, and the relationship that I have with Old Fashioned, I'm happy to have that, relationship with Garrett, and also now with PCW. Now that I'm getting involved with PCW, which we're happy we're finally getting, the independent scene back in California where it's supposed to be nowadays. And then and not only that, but it was also for Mike and Matt's first experience in the indie scene. They'd never been to an independent circuit show.
Yes, I was watching the vlog. He said like, this was my first independent show.
Yeah, and he loved it. He's more intrigued of anything. Obviously Chris is experienced, but Chris wasn't there at the time. But definitely, I mean, it's a relationship that we're hoping that it's continue moving forward and seeing where it develops from there, especially with PCW that is coming back again. And I'm looking forward for a lot of great things happening in PCW coming up in May. So I'm looking forward for that too. And hopefully soon, I mean, I'm hoping to reach out of California, like, go to the East Coast, go to the Midwest. I would love to get myself more hands-on with Memphis, with Dustin Starr. I know we have not spoken for quite some time. It's just, I really haven't had the time to speak with all the independent circuit wrestlers, and it's not like, I don't want to put either stuff out or none of that. Just having the time, I don't, it's difficult now that the doors are, everything's are opening up again, now that this pandemic has kind of calmed down and cases are lowering, and now we're back into the real world out there, so it's, we have our normal 9-to-5 job, and it's just, it's now learning how to time manage with everything nowadays, especially when you're involved in social media, and then promoting stuff on social media. It does take a time. People think like, oh yeah, just one repost. No, you gotta repost. Like,
it's a job.
It's a job. Like, if it's a job, so it takes its time.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't wait to, hopefully by the end of the year, we're hoping either Money Mike and myself or the whole crew maybe to travel out there. That's the goal right now, is to get more out there, with other independent circuits, but right now, we're barely getting our feet wet. Now that it's reopening now with live events here in Cali. So that's the one thing that our major focus is on that before we even move forward with, with other independent circuits around, in the States. So I think that's like the major key factor right now at this moment is, getting more involved, hands-on, and then so we could take that knowledge of what we know and take it over there as well, and introducing ourselves better to them. Like, oh, I like these guys. They're doing good,
Yeah.
good promotion, and we want to give that impression. So it's like we don't want to walk in there not knowing anything. Like, oh shit, And so that's the one thing I'm glad that all of us have, that able to step up and not, feel no camera shy anything. When Mike did his interview, Matt did his interview, did a great job. And so I can't wait to when we do it again, so there's a lot more coming.
Yeah, man, I can't wait for it, man. And especially, like I said, with other podcasts, I feel like no one is doing kind of what you're doing. I mean, you're doing vlogs, you're doing even things with wrestling guy, even the things you even do like with the hosting. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about too, because you guys hosted, I believe it was the Andrade autograph signing event. And, and especially it's a total different from doing this into hosting events. What was that whole experience like for you to host an autograph signing, especially with a packed house like that one was?
Honestly, it was nerve-wracking because I am not gonna lie. I mean, I had to be there at 10 in the morning, and the night before, 9 a.m. in the morning, because then I the night before, obviously I work late, so I don't go to sleep till 3 in the morning, and then I had to wake up in a couple hours, get ready to go over there, and I was not feeling it. I was like, oh my god, and like, yeah, I know I'm gonna get criticized for this shit, but I don't care. But yes, I took a bottle of Gatorade, and my bottle of Gatorade had my michelada. So yes, I took 2 of them because I needed to wake me up and nerve-wracking, take off the nervousness, because it was just like a lot of people. I'm like, shit, this is a long. I've never seen this, packed. And then we had to figure out ideas. Okay, what are we gonna do? Because they're like, once we got there, like, so what are we doing? I'm like, okay, so we're just gonna say, hey, how's it going? Boom, boom. And David is here. Look, I got some giveaways. Pass them out. Do trivia. Okay, fuck it. Let's do some trivia. We did Andrade trivia. We took turns. Mike take his turn, Chris, and then myself, but Matt wasn't there. It was only us 3. So we took turns, and it was awesome. Then I'm unfortunate, of course, it shut down early. Someone called the authorities, so they had to shut it down. But Mike at least was able to get a picture with him. Chris and I didn't, but which is fine. I mean, it's fine. But it was a great experience overall because people got to know who we are. Like, oh, this is Circle Debate. This is who they are. And they didn't expect us to be there. And then we got credit what credit's due when we did the commercial for the Wrestling Guy store. We did 2 commercials. Kudos to Chris. That's what we call him, the director, because he directed us. Okay, how would you want us to do this? And the way how he put it out there was awesome, man. He did a great job, and I can't wait to do. We're gonna do another one, hopefully, and I'm hoping to get the league more involved and how we could do a commercial for him, and stuff like that. I would like to do and help, obviously, the pro wrestling community, like the Wrestling Guy store, like Jimmy's World Order. I would like to help them out and expose them more out there and get recognition. Not just the meeting recognition that certain people do, and then that's it. Like, no, you need to go shop at the store. We want to explain why you want to go to the store, and it's like how we help other podcasters when we help each other. Hey, check this out, check this interview or check this episode. It's just helping each other out and getting recognition around the community itself, especially in the pro wrestling world.
Oh, absolutely. And especially now with everything, what does the future hold for Circle Debate? Like, what are you guys' goals? Like, what would you like to do in the future?
The future's high for Circle Debate. Obviously, I want this, platform to expose more. I would like to dream, which it could be at any time. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but hopefully it does. It gets picked up. Maybe someone wants to go ahead and, hey, you know what? I'll put you on this platform, give you guys this check, and just give us a hell of a damn good show. If that's able to do that, and I'm able to bring along the league as well, by all means, we're all going to eat. And that's something that I would love to do. And I got a lot of plans that I want to do. It does take its toll, takes its time. Now with the world's reopening, I have a lot of ideas that I want to do, but also, at the same time, help the league itself as well to get their exposure as well. But mainly for Circle is to get out there more. The goal is to be what Stephen Bryan did for SoCal Uncensored, and what he still does to this day. He still writes vlogs. He still writes, the message board. And it's incredible that this individual and his team takes the time to do that, and people still read it. Yeah. And he was the main pioneer of SoCal Pro Wrestling to give that exposure. And Absolutely. That's what I kind of want to do the same thing. When I had him on the show, I told him off air, and I told him even during the interview, you are my inspiration. I want to be the next you, but video. And I want to do video and go out there and expose the indie scene in SoCal. And that's the goal that I would like to get here in SoCal, to get recognition from everywhere. Oh yeah, that's Circle Debate. Oh yeah, I want to see people wearing the shirts. I want to see, hey, can we take a picture? Obviously I know it's a little too much, but as something that I would like to do, what he has done is put the indie wrestlers out there here in SoCal, that a lot of them came from here, that are now on the biggest platforms like WWE, AEW, New Japan are out there. I would like to help them get to that level too. I want to be a part of that, what he's done, what he's written about the wrestlers. I want to do something like what he's done, giving out awards. That I would love to do that. That's something I would like to do for SoCal, because I love California. That's where we're from. And of course, and all over the world. And I want to get out. I want to get out there more, out there to the world as well. There's a lot more indie scenes happening in the East Coast and Midwest more than here. And I would love to travel and go over there and get hands on and put Circle Debate out there and the league itself out there. There's a lot of goals. Doing own network. I want to have our own network. How League of Restoring podcast. That have everybody there. That it's just so many things I would like to do. It's just, it takes one at a time to get it done. Yeah. And at the end of the journey is more, I want to do this as a 9-to-5 job. Yeah. I want this to be a passion to do it. I want to get to where Chris Van Fleet is at. I want to get to where Sam Roberts is at. I want to get to where Conrad Thompson is at. Yeah. That's a goal that I would love to get at. But like I said, I would like to share the bread with everybody, with that people who are real closest to me, like obviously yourself and your brother, and of course, my crew, Mike, Chris, and Matt. That's the goal. That's the major goal that I would like to get to, because I love doing this. I love professional wrestling, and just getting there will be a dream come true, and I can do this for a passion, for living as passionately. And not have to work anymore, and just more focus on working this platform. That's the goal, working for myself, but not for others. So that's the goal.
Absolutely, man. And especially you're already doing that, especially what you're doing, what you're saying, especially you've helped so many wrestlers out there, especially with not only with wrestlers, but also promoters. And what you're doing is very, very special, because what you're doing is you're helping. You're giving them a spotlight, and you're giving them more, whatever it is, whether it's time, airtime, or publicity, you're helping that. You're paying a huge contribution to not only just wrestling, but SoCal wrestling, especially here, and like I said, you're a huge inspiration to us. You inspire us to do the same thing. And like I said, what you've done, not only for us, but for a lot of podcasts, because for you, you're a person that you're not selfish. You share with everyone. And I feel like there's not a lot of people in this world like you, because a lot of people are like that. You're very selfish and they just want it for themselves, and you're not like that at all, And to listeners out there, you've given us, especially the story when we met Ivan. I think we believe we met in an Instagram live, right? And this crazy thing is, we did Instagram live, and we did not talk. This is the first time we ever talked, and I believe we talked for at least over 2 hours. You know, and right away I just hit a connection with you, man. And you know, and ever since then, you know, we've done so many things together, and with MMA too. And I thank you for everything you've done for us, because you know, without you, man, we wouldn't be where we're at. So you know, we really do appreciate everything you've done for us.
I appreciate you guys. Nah, man, you guys got yourselves there, man. You guys are doing it, and like I said, what you guys are doing right now is something that no one's doing, and it's very, very different. And I want to stop doing it because, like I said, it's gonna happen to you too. That's something, someone or some company will be like, hey, why not have this type of show on their platform? It always happens.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, continue to grow, like how all of us are growing together, you know, learning and, you know, growing of learning, you know, the world of podcasting, you know, besides, you know, doing a video, but also in person too, you know, and then you know, yourself and your brother getting involved with more with, you know, how you mentioned that I'm getting involved behind the scenes of pro wrestling. So you guys are, and that's phenomenal. You know, that's a learning, you know, a learning tree that you're growing on yourself, and never stop, you know, growing, and man, continue. And like everybody else is, like, you know, like Top Rope, Dirty Heels, Joe from the Ring, you know, those guys are fantastic, man. You know,
the best,
all of them, man, all of them. They are doing a fantastic job.
And especially with, you know, somebody watching this and wants to, you know, make their own podcast, what advice would you give to someone that wants to start their own podcast?
Don't be afraid. Just make sure that you find a great name that you like. Do it, you know, whatever name you want to call it, go for it. Find, you know, put yourself out there. Don't be afraid. Just if you want to, you know, talk about something in a, you know, in general, and like people that don't really discuss about, talk about it. Always remember one thing, and I take this from a grain of salt. When it's like almost being in a band, for example.
Yeah.
Out of 5 people that listens to it or sees you performing, like for example, we perform in front of 5 people for the first time. My first show in front of 5 people. But always remember that there's always one person that will help you grow, because that one person that will love to listen to you or watch you is going to tell their peoples, hey, listen to this, or watch this, you should listen to this. And then it grows from 1 to 5 to 7 to more and more. You get more viewers, you get more people that will get involved of what you're speaking about, or, you know, anything in general, like you're playing music or you're doing podcasting, you know, so, or just doing his music, music itself as well, like not playing in a band, but doing music, like, you know, DJing, you know, anything. All it takes is that one person, that one individual that can help you get to where you're at, because, you know, they're the ones who are relating to what you're speaking about, where, you know, is everything overall, and they're the ones who would, hey, you gotta listen to this, you gotta watch this, and that's, I would go for it. I would not be scared at all. So there's always that one person that can help you to get, you know, where you want to get at.
Absolutely, man. That's great advice, man. I love it, man. And again, dude, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, man. I really love this conversation, and just thank you for taking the time, man. I mean, I know we've been talking about this, but just thank you, man.
Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate you very much. And yeah, I'm not used to being the one interviewed. I'm not really used to the one being interviewed, but hey, this is my first time that I'm being interviewed, so I appreciate you for it. Oh, man, I love it, man. But don't forget to subscribe, ladies and gentlemen, to Championship on the Line podcast. Do not forget to subscribe. Obviously, the link is probably, you know, obviously at the end of the video. You see that subscribe, that notification button. Hit that bell and subscribe, as they provide you not only pro wrestling, but also MMA and boxing. So you got to make sure that you subscribe to Championship on the Line. That's for
sure. It, man. Thank you, man. Again, you're sticking my job, man. You're so used to doing this. I got to do this, okay? Again, ladies and gentlemen, do that, but also subscribe and follow Circle to Be Podcast of all the social medias. You go on Twitter, they're on Instagram, I believe Facebook as well. And then they're all you can listen to all the media platforms. They're on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. They're available everywhere and on YouTube. And I'll put the link down in the description down below. And please go follow them because no one's not doing what they're doing, and they are the best at what they do. Again, from Ivan C, from Matt, from Chris and Mike, those guys are going to be podcasts are doing big things. So please follow and go continue into their journey as what they're doing in the Circle Bay podcast. Again, Ivan, thank you so much for bringing me on. And again, that's going to do it for us here at Championship Online Podcast. We will see you guys next time.